I'm Pastor Josh. I'm the youth pastor at Ben Naz.
I'm Isaac. I'm a youth leader.
I'm Hua. I'm the worship leader.
I'm Laura, and I work with the food team.
We're going to do a video to help explain the core team, how it works, how it operates, also the internship that we have during the summer. And we do videos in different ways. A lot of times we just do training videos, but I want to have a conversation with some of our wonderful core team leaders. And you guys have also been part of the internship. And so I'm just going to make comments about the core team, and they're going to chime in, so we'll make it really conversational. And by the end of it, you guys will have a great understanding of how this works, and how we work with students. So first of all, purpose of the core team is to empower youth to become the people that God created them to be, the men and women God created them to be. But what else would you guys add to that as far as the purposes that the core team serves?
It gives us an opportunity because we already know what the youth group wants and needs. So it gives us a say in what we want to do in the youth group to make it more involving, more fun, just something that everyone would love to come and enjoy.
Yeah, so you guys make a lot of the decisions and come up with most of the ideas, and so and I believe that you're in the best position to do that.
Yeah.
Because you know the kind of community you want to create, and so it gives you a voice in that. That's awesome. What else?
Yeah, so for like events or sermon series or things that we're dealing with in life, we can be the people that make the decision about like sermon series, things that we want to do, or if there's events or stuff in town that's like, hey, this could be a great outreach event, or this could be a great thing where everybody will they would want to come to this event and bring friends that have never gone to church before. Like, we can make those decisions and try to make those things happen.
It's great. And it's actually, it's not just a Ben Naz thing. It's actually part of the Nazarene denomination that at every level of kids and youth, the manual says that we need to give people authority, give people leadership positions, raise up leaders. It's, I believe, one of the strengths of our denomination, and so this is part of how we do that. As far as a criteria for joining the core team, it's almost nothing.
Yeah.
We don't have a long list of requirements. We don't have a covenant you have to sign, and we're not saying that any of that is a bad thing, but the way that it works is if you're willing to show up and be involved and jump in and learn and grow, we'll take just about anybody, because you never know who's going to step up and really become an extraordinary leader. And a lot of times I've seen people who, didn't get chances other places, or people didn't realize that they had these gifts, and you give them a shot, and all of a sudden they're doing amazing work. So now there's some challenges that come along with that also, but let me just ask you guys, do you have any comments about how that plays out as far as having a core team that everybody's invited into?
You just really have to want to be in the team and be willing to put the effort in, because if not, you're not contributing too much. And if you don't really want to do anything, then it's not really going to work out.
Yeah, and that brings up a great point. Everybody's invited, but not everybody's allowed to stay. So if you jump in and you're not showing up for stuff and you're not following through on things, and it just becomes apparent that it's not really an important part of your life, then we may have a conversation with you about, are you doing this just to get a name badge or something like that, or is this really something you want to be a part of?
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for anybody at any level of where they're at with leadership or their involvement with church to jump in and continue to start to grow. Where if you're a lot more involved with leadership, or you have an understanding of what it's like to lead teams or do something like that, then joining the core team allows you to grow with that. And then if you're someone who's pretty new and has not done stuff before, you can jump right in and start growing. So as long as it's similar to you get out what you put in. So if you put in the work and put in the things that you want to do, then you'll get a lot out of it, and that can be anybody.
Yeah. Now, one of the big challenges that we run into, and just comes along with this approach, is that everybody has a mindset understandably, that if you're on like a core team or a student leadership team, that you should be, living better or setting an example for everyone else. And that's not completely wrong, but when you accept everybody in, it can be really messy. And you can have people where, God's brought them this far, but they have only been following God for, a short period of time. And so this far for them seems like way behind for everybody else. And we have people come in that have all kinds of issues that they're dealing with and all kinds of immaturities, and it can cause problems, and it can cause more problems because people look at it and go, well, aren't they a core team member? Shouldn't they be living to a higher standard? And honestly, that's just a hit that we're willing to take in order to give people opportunities. And we expect to take it. We expect to have people come in and have it be more messy and have more issues with core team people because we don't make it some big criteria where we only take certain people because we think it's worth it to give everybody an opportunity. Anybody else have anything to say about that? When we bring adult leaders into the youth group, I tell them that your role is to come alongside youth. We want youth to really run this community and make this community their own. And so where in some youth groups, the adults do a lot of the work and a lot of the leadership and the youth kind of help them, we've flipped that on its head where we want the adults to come alongside the youth and help support them. So as adults, we're involved in different teams, we're involved in what's going on, we're always there to help, but we're constantly looking for opportunities to bring youth alongside us when we're doing anything from setting up chairs to tech or even up on stage. And as far as like weekly rhythms and schedules, Wednesday, what time do you guys, you guys come pretty early.
Yeah.
3 of you.
Depends on
Between
what you're doing.
5:15 and 5:30.
Yeah,
I can hear at 5.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so sometimes as early as 5, but usually by
5:45.
5:30.
Before you
is the
5:45.
latest.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd say 5:30.
You just get there way too late.
on certain nights, yeah.
It's okay. Think in terms of 5:30 if you can. Now we have a lot of adults that are working and can't get in here by 5:30, so they tend to show up closer to 6 or 6:30. So 5:30 people are coming. You're working with your team leader to make sure all your stuff is set up. Everything's good to go by 6 o'clock sharp. Everything should be set up. At 6 o'clock, what do?
We
Prayer.
pray.
We pray.
We pray. And how does the prayer time work?
It's about, I'd say, 5 to 10 minutes, like a song and a half maybe, of just quiet prayer where we walk around the room and we just kind of pray over everything going on, or some people sit down and they pray, and then after we pray individually, we come back into our team meeting and we all pray together.
That's, nailed it. So the reason we do that, well, let me ask you guys, you know the reason we do that?
What? Praying around
Why
out
we
there?
pray? Yeah, why we pray in that format?
It kind of gets us in the mood, like getting ready for prayer and getting ready for. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and it's kind of like a warm up before the actual game.
Yeah.
Yeah, just praying over our space where we're going to be is important too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have this opportunity to do work in our hearts before God as individuals. Then we come together and pray. And we're trying to get out of the habit of prayer being, just kind of a running through the motions, where we need to pray for a service, so we come together, God bless the service, and then move on and try to make it something where we're taking a breath and like spending time with God, making that a sacred space, because it really sets the stage for everything else that goes on in the worship service. So yeah, like who I mentioned, then we have a meeting in here. A lot of times we have little updates, and when you get here, you're supposed to
Check the board.
check the board.
Grab your name tag, check the board.
Yep, communication's important. On the right side of the board, there is squares for each team. So anything that team leaders want to communicate. So you want to check your team's square. And on the left side of the board is stuff that I'll put on, things like the core team meeting, leadership thought for the week, which team I might huddle with, although we haven't been doing very well with that. We need to step up our game with the huddles. Nobody has. It's nobody's fault. We've all
You sure?
sinned and fallen short of the huddle time. What?
Nothing, I'm kidding. Wow. I'm humble.
Oh yeah.
The most.
Oh yeah, very humble. Yeah. All pastors' kids are.
Exactly.
He's one too.
We've got upcoming events, weekly reminders, so it's really important to check that board when you come in, when you go out. We'll come in, we'll pray together, we'll go over a couple quick things about the night or about upcoming events, give a leadership thought, and then everybody goes out and it's like game on. And what we say about going out to start youth group is bring your best self. Don't be fake. Don't be somebody that you're not. But try to tap into the best of who you are. Because that's the time when we're loving on students, we're caring for students, and they're going through a lot of stuff. And as a group, we just want to come out and give them an extraordinary experience. At the same time, if you're going through a hard time or you're just feeling off or something, like it's okay to feel off and have a hard time and kind of spend a little more time to yourself. It's part of how God created community for people to be able to bring what they're going through in life and carry those burdens together. So again, it's not to be fake. It's not like, make yourself smile no matter what. But it is to get ourselves in a position where it's like we're going to worship hard, we're going to listen well, we're going to get to know people, we're going to serve people, we're going to listen to people, and just create a great space for them. After the service, so everybody needs to be aware of what their roles are. Games are usually about 6:35, although that may change. We may change the schedule coming up soon. But whatever team you're on, whatever role you have, you're making sure that everybody's on the same page, knows what they're doing. We go through the service and then everybody's on cleanup. We have monthly meetings, typically happen on Sunday at 3 o'clock, but that is open to change. And tell them a little bit about how monthly meetings operate.
Usually we just start with the training. It's either getting to know who you are as a leader or just getting better as your leadership goal. And then we just plan what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and where we want to go or where we want to get as a youth group.
I'd say it also depends on what time of the year we're at. After we finish our big end of the year party, it's almost always the next core meeting that we're going to have is we know that, okay, we're going to be setting up our calendar, planning our big events, brainstorming everything. Yeah. And then we'll be brainstorming, the following, sermon series, or we'll be, trying to fit things in the schedule, the summer camps and the winter camps and the road trips and everything like that. And then we have, our leadership moment, like you said. Mm-hmm. Or if it's kind of a weird monthly meeting where there's not really many events going on, we kind of planned it out. So last week when we had our monthly meeting, what we did was go over games and how to work games and how to set up games and really just taking it into one section and going through very thoroughly and being able to understand something.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things happening there. First of all, you're all learning about, and we're going to do that for other teams as well. So you're all learning about how the other teams operate, how to work together more effectively. You're learning about how meetings work, because we're talking about things like brainstorming or planning or details, things and those are all things that you're going to use later in life. And then, like you said in the beginning, as far as the purpose of the core team, you're making your opinions known, and you're setting the course for what we do. And we ask questions like, what kind of thing would you like to invite your non-Christian friends to? Or what kind of thing could we do to help you grow closer to God? Or what kind of things are youth thinking about as they go into summer? And let's do a sermon series about that. And then you guys give amazing answers. And I come with my ideas, and then you shoot them down, and
We can't be married to our ideas.
they end up better. And that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. As a general rule, just part of our brainstorming structure is that it takes a lot of ideas to come up with good ideas. And so because of that, I mean, there are times when, we come up with like 30 ideas. And
Or
so,
like the names for sermon series.
Yeah,
We'll have like
those
40
are-
and then we'll be like, wait a minute. And we combine like 2 and it comes up.
yeah, exactly. So in order for that to happen, you cannot be married to your ideas. You can't have the sense that, like, I'm going to put this idea out there and it better happen or I'm going to be all offended. That will not work at all. You have to put your ideas out there. That's expected and that's important. But when you put them out there, it's just letting the group see or seeing what the group does, and we might move in a different direction, we might not. But that's part of our process. It's a really important part of our process, and I think that's where a lot of the creativity comes from.
Yeah.
Anything else on that point? So the first half of the monthly meeting is usually training, the second half is planning. I try to keep it around 2 hours, but it's really fun. I mean, we laugh a lot, we joke a lot, we try to have snacks and things like that, so it's pretty informal.
Yeah.
It's a good time together. We want every core team member to take a week off per month, and that's a week off from responsibilities. So we want them to come to the youth group, but just to enjoy it, just to worship, take part in the games, not worry about setup or takedown or any responsibilities. We can't always do that, but the best we can, we're going to try to implement that because we want to teach you guys how to have good rhythms of rest and working hard, which is very biblical. It'll help you do good work and last a long time without burning out.
Yeah.
So we want to teach you that too. We have events, typically monthly or so, and a lot of the events all have some sort of purpose, whether it's outreach or discipleship or sometimes a combination of both.
Yeah.
We have the intro video that talks more about the different events that we have, but as far as the core team goes, oftentimes the core team is an important part of planning those events or running different aspects of them. We do have events where I will tell the core team, like, this is your time to serve your friends. So you are leaders for this event. You'll have fun, but this is not your time to show up and be like, hey, what's going on for me? There are other events where the adults will do more of the work, or we'll have camps that have a camp staff that do more of the work so that the core team has a chance to just relax and enjoy and play games and be poured into. But as far as events goes, there's both. There's events where the core team is pouring into other youth and they're on alert for getting things done, and then there's other stuff where the core team gets to enjoy the event and have a lot of fun with it. So there is a training video called, I think it's going to be called 4 Levels of Experiential Leadership. We did that training a little while ago. And
Was that the one we were all at the different places?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's one that you'll need to check out as part of orientation, but it just talks about the mindset of going into an event and creating great experiences for other people over and above expecting a great experience for yourself. We have 5 teams and 1 on the way. So what are our teams at this point? And teams are changeable, but
Worship team.
worship,
Media arts.
media arts,
Games.
games,
Food.
Hospitality.
Hospitality, and then outreach on the way.
Outreach is on the way. So we'll just go through these real quick. So what's media arts?
Like the screens on Wednesday night, the Instagram, the graphics that we create, the videos that we shoot, like vlogging at camps and stuff like that. Putting those things together, editing videos like this right now.
And who does most of our vlogs at camps?
Joe.
Me.
Oh, it's her.
Okay.
It's me. Trust me.
Well, Joe.
Josiah loves going through the hours that I put on those GoPros.
Yeah.
Joe does a lot of the filming. Who does the vlogging?
I do the
For sure.
She's a vlogger.
She's a vlogger.
Vlog
So it's
Vlog squad.
so social media, videos, pictures. Tech team it's kind of a carryover with worship, but the big idea over media arts team is telling our story. We want to tell our story and record our story, especially what God has done, and give people a platform. We've done different things where we've highlighted different people in the youth group so that they feel like they're known and they're appreciated. So it's a great opportunity for that. Worship, who is our current worship leader, and what does your team do?
We pick songs and sing them in front of people and lead worship.
Yes.
In other words,
All
There we
true.
in other words, your worship.
Your worship
Wow.
team.
Yep.
Look at that.
Big brain.
We create an atmosphere where people should ideally feel like they can relax their hearts and their souls to be able to listen to God and worship Him.
Poetry.
I'm just reminding myself of
good.
what my dad says.
It's so good. No, it's so good.
Big words.
Yeah, you're creating an environment where people feel safe to open up and worship God, experience His presence. That's great.
Yeah.
Nailed it. So if you play an instrument, or if you sing, or another aspect of that is announcements, which is an important part of what we do. You guys do announcements, but you're gonna be gone soon.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna leave me. You can't do that to me.
Being a hype
You'll do
person. Runs games in the gym or outside or sometimes up front.
Yeah.
And we do have a games training video up. We'll have training videos for a lot of these coming up soon. But games is so important because youth begin to build friendships and connections with each other, even like learning to trust each other as they spike on each other in 9 square and throw balls and dodgeball and all sorts of stuff. It's love. It's pure love.
For love.
Pure love. So if you'd like to be involved in that, Lauda is our current food team leader.
Yeah.
What does food team do?
In my mind, food brings people together, and that's what my team or my goal is making sure that we have food that people will be drawn to and that they will want to come to youth group just because of the food or also the environment too. But
Yeah, the cereal bar.
just have like different types of food that people will be like, oh my gosh, they have this, and just like a factor that just makes people want to come.
That's so good. That's so good. I mean, Jesus did the same thing with his ministry.
Yep.
In fact, there's one point where he said, a lot of you guys are only following me around because I feed you all the time. So, you know how that feels,
I'm sure
right?
that's how you feel sometimes.
I do.
That's how we treat you most of the time.
It's like, hey, it's gonna
Do you
be
want to hang out?
it's gonna be a great service
I'll buy you
this
guys
week.
lunch. Okay.
I'm busy. How about pizza? I'm there. I'm there.
I can make plans. Space.
What? I don't know.
And
I don't know.
And oftentimes we'll have a few snacks out, but Lauda will save kind of whatever special concoction she's coming up with for the community groups. And so community groups is kind of, sitting around a table, hanging out, talking, and say, I have different kind of snacks for that.
We make community.
Wow.
That's good. Hospitality is making people feel welcome, but it's not. Hospitality is not just about having greeters at the door that wear a smile and shake everybody's hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's also something that we do to watch for people that look like they need a friend or look like they need someone to sit next to, or inviting someone to go play the game with us, and so that they feel connected. And then Zoe is working on putting together an outreach team, which is serving the community, maybe beyond. So just projects for anybody in need, homeless, people in poverty, families, kids, whatever the Lord leads us to step in and serve. And the last thing about that is that everybody is responsible for their team doing well, first and foremost, and secondly, for looking out for the other teams and helping the other teams. So a great example of this is worship, in that the worship team is responsible for creating this great worship environment, but everybody on the core team needs to be, in a sense, leading worship from the crowd and not goofing off and not being on our phones, and helping the worship team do that. Same with the food team, where we're not making messes and we're not causing problems, and we're helping them with cleanup. And with game team, we're having fun, we're jumping in, we're getting involved, we're not, talking and goofing off while they're trying to explain rules. And so, again, there's a sense of you focus on making sure your core team or your team does an excellent job, and then beyond that, you're looking for ways to help the other teams really succeed. That's our sweet spot. We have anything else anybody wants to say about the teams that I missed? Okay.
Please join.
Yeah.
We have some great teams. So we want people to be constantly growing. And so we've been implementing some strategies to help them grow, and it's very customized. So whatever people's gifts or passions are, we want to keep them accountable for investing in that area of their lives. So what they do is they're going to come up with annual goals about how they want to train, and this could be reading books, it could be watching movies that are relevant to growing in leadership, things like that. They could be podcasts, sermons, they could be taking on projects. There's all sorts of different things, and everything has kind of a point value, and then they set a goal for how many points they're going to earn in the year. And then they have name tags, which they have all designed and painted, and we have a bunch of others so new people can design them as they join the team. And if they achieve their goals, either at a bronze, silver, or gold level, they will get a bead to represent what they've accomplished in learning. One of the first things we want to do is help students identify their personalities and their gifts. And so we use some basic tools like DISC profile, but we continue to do things to help people understand spiritual gifts or their stuff in rooted or other areas where they can grow in that. But right off the bat is DISC, and so they take a DISC in order to get a name tag, and they put their 2 top personality letters on the name tag so that when we interact with them, we can be reminded, oh, you're an I. That's why you keep shooting spit wads at people.
Makes sense.
Oh, you're next.
You would know you're a D.
Huh?
D and an I.
What?
I'm talking to Laura.
Oh, yeah.
Shooting spit wads over there.
Yeah, she knows. She knows.
I wouldn't know.
To go along with this, we have kind of a learning intensive that is our summer internship that you guys all did. And so
Yeah.
explain a little bit of how that works.
Well, so I don't know how we're planning to do it in the future, but at least for the first one for us,
It'll be pretty similar.
pretty similar. Okay,
Yeah.
so we read through 2 books. So one we all read through together, the same book, which was Knowledge of the Holy by Tozer. So we all read through that one, and by each week we should.
We will do a different book than that. We'll do a different book for the all reading every summer.
At least for us, it was Tozer. So some book that is intensive and kind of the strength building book for leadership or for knowledge of God. I mean, the idea behind the Tozer one was to be a leader, especially in a faith scenario. We have to really understand God and who He is, I guess who God is, to lead from that point, because if you lead from anywhere else, then it might not go great. Yeah. So we read that book, and then each of us has our own individual book that we picked out from a collection that Pastor Josh has that interests us in whatever areas, whether atomic habits or leading businesses or leading in different areas, there's a lot of different things. So whatever kind of stands out, you can pick that book, and so you read through both of those books, and you have meetings every week throughout the summer where we talk about the all together reading and then share some ideas from the personal reading, and then
did we do 2 hours or 3 hours?
I think it was 2.
Two. So the first half
was Tozer,
was discussing the reading, just having conversations about leadership.
Yeah.
And then the second half
was the intensive training.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like whatever you choose. We try to bring someone alongside you that can help you with that. So we had someone on video. We had a video editor come in and meet with him and work together with him. Worship, and then I worked with anybody who wanted to do leadership or pastoral focus. So what else? There's more.
It definitely helps you grow in whichever area you're interested in. Like I did leadership and pastoral, that word stuff.
Nailed it.
I really didn't learn that much. Pastor Josh.
Wow.
Oh, cut to
She's
you.
being facetious.
Spitballs fired.
She clearly learned a lot.
Yeah.
It helps you just get to know the area you want to focus on, and it just helps you grow as a person and in your faith in God. Like just reading Tozer, it helped me just like you'll never know who really God is, and just like it expands your mind, and you think you know so much. In reality, we just always fall short, and it's so just mind-blowing, and it's just like an amazing opportunity to just like know how you play a role in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some students who will hear something like this and say, great, reading a book, like that's why we have summer, so I don't have to read.
I hate reading.
Yeah, so
and I loved reading those books.
Yeah.
Like I am not a fan of reading at all. Like, I don't
Me either.
Like I hate it. Like if we have to read a book in school, I will find the
Movie
Amazon
summary.
Kindle version or the summary, so that I don't have to
better.
read it. But I loved reading those books.
It kind of comes to you get out of it what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really get into it, you'll get a lot from it.
Well, and the conversations we were able to have.
Yeah, those were
really
and
good.
you really want to understand and do the reading so you can actually like have a good conversation. There's a lot of times where in other areas if you're not doing the reading, then the conversation can be kind of lacking because nobody did the reading, and it's kind of like, wow, great. But if everybody does the reading, it's really, really powerful. So.
Yep. They all took on projects, and again, they got to design the projects. That was when Lauda launched the food team, and she put together some surveys and some different things to figure out. Or actually, your project wasn't the food team, it was integrating the Hispanic and English youth, and in your research, you came up with food as being an important part of that.
Aspect,
So,
yeah.
ergo, the food team. How cool is that?
Perfect.
We're all thankful for how that went down.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so you're choosing projects that you're working on. You're getting training from an expert in that area, and you're pushing yourself to read and grow and have conversations together. You go into the school year really with kind of a top position in the youth group. It's kind of how it works out, is that the people who are in the summer internship, there are exceptions to the rule, but the people who are in the summer internship really take the lead in the youth group throughout the year. And there's obviously, like everything else, if you do well and you step up, then there's more opportunities available to you. You get a certificate of completion, so it's a cool certificate that you can put on your resume or list in college applications, and it's just a great time together. We had a blast, and
It was a lot of fun.
I loved it.
For me, like I feel like if I were to be listening to these videos and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you guys have 2-hour-long meetings, I'd be like, nope, and then I would turn it off. But like honestly, they do not feel like 2 hours at all. Like the time just flies by so fast because I have a hard time paying attention to something for long periods of time before I start to zone out. But I never ever zoned out. I never zoned out in the leadership meetings. I never zoned out in the core team meetings. Like everything, I was always just engaged because I was just so into it.
And the internship isn't going to be a requirement for core team people, right? It's just for those that if you're in the core team and you're like, all right, I want to go even further, take the next step, learn more about leadership. If you're interested in ministry, you can get more of a deeper study with that. Mm-hmm. That's totally the next step for you. And I mean, especially if you're interested in ministry, you better get used to reading. So that's what I've heard.
Well, if you want to be in leadership in general, I mean, great leaders are big time learners and big readers. And it just comes with the territory. So,
but if reading's not your thing, like you said, you can find audiobooks.
Yeah, all podcasts. We're super flexible with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the books I read as audiobooks.
So I mean, my devotions I have read out loud. Like I think it came from you actually. When I'm like brushing my teeth and getting ready in the morning, I'll have my devotion playing, and then I'll sit down and answer the questions afterwards.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So, any other last thoughts about core team or?
I think for me, just a lot of times, like for me at least, people would always think that I was so like engaged on purpose. It almost sounds kind of bad, but like in church, like I would be involved because I wanted to be, but for a long time, like it was like, great, I go to a church where my parents are the pastor, so I gotta do this.
Yeah.
And then like core team became a place where it's kind of like you said, like we're kind of in charge. We kind of like get the logistics of everything going through, and it really just it gives you a place to be like, yeah, this is like my thing. Like this is something that I can do, and it's really nice to have something that you can do with people who are like equally as committed and as excited to do it as you are, because it just makes it that much more worth it to be able to go to the meetings and hang out with them and listen to them and be able to share stuff with them, just because it gives you a space that is yours, that helps you grow in your faith with God, which I feel like is kind of hard to find right now.
Well said. Well said. I mean, it creates this community, and a lot of the strongest friendships come out of the core team. And again, we don't necessarily plan it that way. It just is what it is because people jump in and spend time together and grow together. And so if you're looking for ways to get involved, if you're looking for next steps in your faith or in your whatever your giftings are, this is a great place to do it. So jump in, commit yourself. Even take a next step of like the internship or something like that.
Do it.
You don't have to be on the core team to do the internship. Is another. So it's neither. But usually you're going to want to if you're not, because you're going to want to put these things into practice moving forward.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, you guys. You were awesome. Love you all.
Of course.